Hello, my name is Tom Hennigan. I put out a video probably about a year and a half ago. I spoke about my testimony, my life with the Lord, my walk uh, during my life, and posted it on YouTube, and I've had maybe 180 views. I mean, I've had nothing to promote it, I guess, or nothing. But, anyways, I wanted to go more into detail about speaking about something that I shared in my testimony, and I spoke in my testimony. Well, I grew up a Catholic boy and everything, and my brother and his first wife, they were going to this Pentecostal church for a while, and they invite me over, and this church is like no other church that I've ever attended in my life. I've even searched for other churches like this one, but haven't had no luck in finding it. But during these church services, these people would be going to what they refer to as shouting, um, and what would be going on a lot of times, people, they may start going into a dance in the spirit, or they just fall over, just go unconscious cold. And I mean, this was common at every church service. You may see a dozen people, maybe dancing in the spirit. What they referred to it as was shouting. Why they use that term, I don't know, because I mean, it was nothing vocal or anything. um, um, but uh, I learned later on what these people were experiencing was a form of ecstasy, a spiritual ecstasy, what could also be referred to as rapture. I'll get more into detail into that in a second. But um, and after I'd received the Lord there, I started having these experiences, and and the way I explain it, it's more of it's a time of union with God. It's an outer body experiences, and I would even see in angels when I'd start to have these experiences, throughout the church. Um, and like I said, it's kind of like an outer body experience. There's really no words to explain it because it's spiritual. It's like you leave your body and you become at one in union with God, and um, it's like you're not really responsive to the world around you anymore. You're not really connected. I mean, your physical body's still there, but you're at one with God during a time of these experiences of ecstasy, union with God, shouting, whatever you want to refer to as, and uh, this it scared me, and the experience didn't scare me. Don't get me wrong; it was a glorious experience, a beautiful experience. But I was a young boy, 12 years old. I didn't know how to incorporate this into my life, and I, and it's I couldn't go to school and say, man, you should see these experiences I'm having. I'm in union with God. I'm seeing angels stuff. I know they would freak out on me, and well, it wasn't long before I backslid, and and I just try to stuff this deep within me, just try to, I guess, what I considered live a normal life, and well, let me speed up, a few years, and I'm not trying to give a testimony right now, but I'm just trying to speak on this one topic. But I'm 23, and I reconvert over, and I'm searching for God as I had learned Him, And I searched around. I found no other churches. I'm living in Florida at this point. When I first received the Lord, I was in Louisiana, but I could not find a church like this, and you know, I eventually was led back into the Catholic Church, and I remember reading, I'd be reading scripture, and it seems like, man, these scripture verses, they talk about community life a lot, and living in community and one in union, like, and I was thinking, probably the best way I could serve the Lord is to join this community. So I went into religious life, and at 27, and for 4.5 years, and uh, you know, wanting to fulfill what I saw God was speaking through Scripture. Well, after I was there a few years, I had this experience once again when I was down in my cabin. It was in the middle of the night, and well, let me just say, the monastic life, it's a life of prayer. We met in the chapel 3 times a day. Uh, we studied about the saints, why they were saints, and their lives, and work, a lot of hard work. Um, but anyways, I had this experience again, down in my cabin, and when I came back to myself, I'm like, wow, wow, I hadn't had this experience since I was like 12 years old. I kind of forgot about this. I'd stuffed it down in me so much, and and then well, there's my cat right there. But anyways, um, I was like, boy, I guess I was experiencing ecstasy. I never knew what it was. These experiences I was having, and well, I'd spoke of this to no one, but later on, at times like during the chapel, I'll be wanting to fall into ecstasy again. Now you can resist it. You can resist it. Um, um, but I was like, man, they wouldn't understand. They wouldn't know what was going on with me. I can't allow this to happen. So one day I got with John Michael, the general minister, and Viola, the general mistress, and the founders of the community, and I spoke with them and um, told them about my experiences in the past and the experiences I was starting to have again. John Michael just smiled, and he said, when the community was younger, he had an experience in the chapel. He said, um, where he went into ecstasy, and he totally understood where I was coming from because, like I said, you're not really responsive to the world when you go into ecstasy, and it's like you're in union with God, um, um, and the community didn't understand what was going on with him, and he said it was just chaos. It was chaos. So I never allowed it again. I never allowed myself to fully get engulfed in the spirit again. And I wish I would have. I would. I don't know. Was that the sin of pride preventing me? Um, you know, they speak of like ecstasy and rapture, and what's the difference? Well, it's the same thing but different. In my studies, from what I understand, ecstasy, you're entering in the presence of God, and you're uniting with Him. Rapture is more if God's pulling you into Him. But I mean, it's the same place you're going. But this is my understanding of it in my studies, and I don't know that there's ever been a firm definition on these experiences because, like I said, it's nothing in words that can really be described. It's like you'll see the visionaries, and they'll speak of their times when they go into rapture or something like that. They really can't explain it. There's really no words for it, and it's just a union and a oneness with God. Um, you know, and still to this day, from times, um, you know, I'm not in a monastery anymore. I was there for 4.5 years, but I'm 55 now. But sometimes, like maybe like during the consecration of the Eucharist at Mass or something like that, I could just so easily slip in. I don't allow myself to go to that point. You know, I, and I think a lot of people, they could have these experiences with God. God's probably trying to pull them in, but they don't realize it, and they resist it, not even realizing they are. Trying to stay in good form or whatnot. Um, you know, it's something that's really not easy to explain, but it's just something I want to share and something that was on my mind and something I want to maybe touch a little more detail on about my testimony. Oh, God bless you, brothers and sisters, and peace be with you. Okay, God bless. Bye-bye.